this is going to be your quick guide to every hero currently in Marvel Rivals, so you can be less confused by certain heroes and have a better idea of what unfamiliar heroes do at a glance. If you enjoy this video and want to see more, give it a like and subscribe for more Marvel Rivals content in the future. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Hulk is a solid tank, using his shield and big health pool to soak up damage, his clap to damage enemies from afar, and his spit ability to stun enemies and make them immune to any effects. When he gets low or wants to soak up more damage, he can also use his ult to double his health. If you do lose all your health, don't worry, you still have a second chance as Banner with a pistol and grenade for protection. You need to try to stay alive as long as possible so you can get your ult back and turn back into the Hulk. Captain America is a very quick tank who is also very good at soaking up damage with his shield and quick movement thanks to his sprint and shield dash. This allows him to retreat from bad situations quickly. His shield can be thrown to bounce off nearby enemies and deal damage from range. Using his ult leaves a path where he walks, which will boost health and movement speed for anybody who stands in it. Doctor Strange is the main shield hero of Marvel Rivals. His main job is to block the DPS heroes while they deal damage and take out enemies from behind his shield. He charges his AoE with his main attack and has the ability to fly. His portals can also be used to teleport above or behind the enemies for surprise attacks. Pairing this with his ult, which allows you to stun people, Doctor Strange allows for some very crazy plays. Groot is useful for walling off your team's advance, preventing damage and having the ability to damage enemies with his middle wall. He also has a grenade which acts like a cluster bomb. His main attack is a long-ranged melee attack, so it's kind of a hybrid. His ult is able to pull and hold enemies once it's used. This allows Groot to control and advance on objectives very well. Magneto is the second shield hero in Rivals. His shield is less effective, only being up for a limited time. However, his main attack is very good for hitting smaller characters or the back lines of the enemy team. His ult is also quite good for dealing big damage to enemies in a small area. Penny is a very mobile tank with the ability to set up a lot of mines. She excels when setting up tons of mines and staying near her spider nest. This will deploy mines and heal her over time, becoming bonus health once she's full. She's also able to use her web ability to stun enemies very frequently. Her ult powers her up and allows her to run around throwing mines and webs and also launching enemies up in her path. Thor is a very unique tank, having next to no cooldowns, requiring Thor Force charges to use his abilities. Using Thor Force grants Thor bonus health, and hitting an enemy with your main attack recharges a Thor Force. Thor has a charged dash attack, AoE attack that restores charges based on how many enemies you hit, and the ability to power himself up for a short time, along with a powerful AoE ult makes him incredibly strong when mastered. Venom, of course, has the ability to swing, although it is much slower than Spider-Man swinging. He also has a jump attack, which can be used when out of the swing to jump on enemies and deal some good damage. He also has a shield to absorb damage and an AoE grab, which allows him to slow down enemies and eventually damage them if they can't escape. His ult is a big AoE that deals pretty decent damage. Black Panther is a very quick melee hero with lots of abilities, allowing him to close the distance or deal damage at a range. Having spears for the range damage and dashes for closing the distance, he also has the ability to run up walls, putting him into a jumping state, which allows you to automatically double jump. His ult is not very strong and requires some good timing to be very effective. Black Widow is the first sharpshooter character, her main weapon being her sniper, but also having a melee option for close range attackers. She has a sprint and a kick, making her much more capable of escaping those close range attackers. Her ult is also very strong, being a charged AoE shot. Hawkeye is the second sharpshooter, being the typical archer character and doing it very well, requiring you to consistently be aiming at enemies and not just holding a charge. His double jump allows him to get to harder to reach areas, also having a parry to block incoming shots. His sword swipe allows him to knock attackers back who try to push his high ground. If they do get too close, you can also switch to his explosive arrows, which do incredible damage to enemies who don't get personal space. Hawkeye's ult allows him to see after images, and damaging those images damages the main hero. Hela can do insane damage and absolutely control a battlefield if you learn her well. She has the ability to stun enemies and fire thorns that explode after a delay. She also has a good escape with her Raven ability and an ult which can utterly control an area, forcing the entire enemy team to either leave or die. Iron Fist. Iron Fist can be a very strong DPS hero, and is very good at solo target fights. Also, all of his abilities combo very well together, and paired with the ability to heal at the cost of standing still, this character is a very good DPS character. His ult powers him up, giving him more speed, damage, and range. Iron Man. Iron Man is a permanently flying character, which makes him an easy target for some. However, you can deal very good damage with all of his abilities, having a beam attack, missiles, and a massive damage AoE ult, which can make him a very big problem to certain heroes. Magic. Magic is a melee hero with the ability to move through portals and the option to use one of two abilities after coming out of the portal. She also has a dash, which launches enemies up, and a ranged slash attack. Using her ult turns her into a monster, enhancing all of her abilities, making them even stronger. Moon Knight. Moon Knight has a unique set of abilities, having good movement and damage abilities if used correctly. His onks can be placed and shots can be bounced off of them for tons of damage. He also has a double jump, a grappling hook, and a glide to escape some risky situations. His ult can be used to deal tons of damage in a set area. Psylocke is a flanking hero, with all of her abilities being about jumping in and out of fights and doing damage to the softer heroes. With a dash and an invisibility making her very sneaky, her damage ability will grant her bonus health, and her ult will deal massive damage to anyone close to her. Namor is a great character for holding and controlling points, having turrets which can be placed anywhere, and an invincibility shield to completely block damage. Using his damage also makes all of his turrets do an enhanced attack to whoever is closest to them. His ult calls a giant whale to slam in an area, which does more damage the closer you are to the middle of it. This will also disable every movement ability for all enemies hit. Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is an incredibly strong DPS character, with an auto-lock attack to enemies in range, to go invincible and move anywhere for a short time, and a strong ult attack launching AoE attacks very quickly. She can also float, which can sometimes confuse the enemies and be helpful for taking out some weaker heroes. Her ult is quite hard to get off successfully, but if you can, it will wipe out any hero in the area. Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the most mobile character in Marvel's currently. His solo target damage is very strong, and having an ult with very good AoE damage. His abilities will also slightly change if you've hit an enemy with your ult attack. Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is a very unique hero, with her bouncing shots, which deal good damage if aimed correctly. She also has the ability to leap upwards, hurl acorns which trap enemies, and refresh all of her abilities. Her ult can bounce off walls and deals incredible damage, making it very, very dangerous on tight maps.
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord has a very fast shooting main attack, which gets inaccurate quite quickly. However, his firing and reload speed are very quick, allowing for lots of damage very, very quickly. He also has a flight ability and some dashes, making him quite mobile, also having an AoE ability which does deal quite damage to any enemy in the area. His ult gives his main guns auto aim and makes him fly for the duration of the ult.
Storm.
Storm is the second hero with infinite flight, and again this makes her an easy target. However, her AoE movement speed or damage boost ability makes her very valuable to the team. She can boost these, making the AoE slow enemies in the wind mode and damage enemies in the lightning mode. Her ult transforms her into a tornado, damaging enemies and drawing them in.
Punisher.
The Punisher is an FPS player's hero, having an AR and a shotgun to switch between at any time, a zipline, and a very strong turret to set up wherever there's enough space. His smoke bomb can also be useful to get away from enemies, and his ult turns him into a walking army, shooting miniguns and firing rockets for the entire duration.
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier shoots explosive shots which explode when hitting an enemy. His dash will grab enemies in the way and throw all the enemies hit in the air at the end of the dash. He also has a ranged ability which will slow enemies hit, and his ult makes you leap into the air and slam down onto enemies. If you kill the enemy before this effect wears off, your ult is fully recharged.
Wolverine.
Wolverine is a unique melee hero, requiring you to build up your rage charge to become more effective. His abilities allow you to grab enemies and stun them while dealing massive damage to them. His ult grabs enemies in front of him and deals more damage based on how much rage you have built up.
Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock is all about healing and reviving the team. His abilities almost entirely focus on healing, with the ability to bond to a teammate, sharing and reducing their damage, and healing them over time. He also has the ability to self-revive after a cooldown, and will revive the entire team with his ult.
Cloak and Dagger.
Cloak and Dagger is a very strong healer, with an auto-lock heal, an AoE heal, and a healing wall. She also has the ability to change forms into Dagger, which converts all of her abilities into damaging forms of those abilities. And her wall will also blind enemies if you hit them with it. Her ult makes her dash around, leaving a trail on the ground, which will heal your team and damage the enemies.
Jeff the Land Shark.
Jeff the Dolphin excels at point control and being a nuisance, along with a great healing ability, and the ability to shoot out healing bubbles. He can also dive underwater, which makes him harder to hit and makes him start healing. This will also allow him to go up walls, and his ult will allow you to swallow enemies and teammates in the area. Holding them will deal damage over time, or allow you to just throw them off the map.
Loki.
Loki's main attack is an AoE, which can heal teammates and damage enemies at the exact same time. He also has the ability to place duplicates, which can cast some of his abilities, and they allow him to swap places with them, allowing for a semi-teleport ability. His ult will allow you to copy any character you're looking at, and giving you all of their abilities, including their ult.
Luna Snow.
Luna is a harder healer to play, with her heals needing to be aimed. However, she makes up for this with the ability to heal a selected hero while you're healing others. She also has the ability to freeze enemies and attack very quickly, and all of her abilities can be used to heal the team or damage enemies. Her ult can also be used to heal or grant damage boost in a big area.
Mantis.
Mantis is a more damage-focused healer, requiring her to gain life orbs from critical hits in order to use her healing or boosting abilities. She also has the ability to sleep people who are close to her. Her ult also grants healing and movement speed boosts. Any extra health is converted to bonus shield for the hero.
Rocket Raccoon.
Rocket has a minigun which deals good damage. His alt fire shoots out healing orbs that bounce around and heal teammates. His dash gives him some mobility, and his BRB machine allows for teammates to be revived and will also produce armor packs and jetpacks periodically. And his ult grants any teammate in range a damage boost, making holding areas with Rocket very easy. And that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. This was a very quick guide on all of the heroes, so you can have a quick general idea on what each hero does, so you're not so surprised in your games. I'll be breaking down certain tricks with the heroes in the future, so if you want to see that, subscribe and comment your favorite hero below. I'll be sure to get to them sooner. I'll also be breaking down other general tips and tricks so you can feel more prepared for any game you get into. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.